Okay, so now we're going to take a look at one of these graphs that has a negative in front of it, and we have some different instructions here. It says indicate the domain, range, and horizontal asymptote. So here's our equation, negative 2x. So first, when we're doing transformations, I'm going to start out by drawing the base graph. So the base graph that we're going to look at is y equals 2 to the x. Now that one, talked about before, that's going to go through 0, 1. So this is the same graph that we plotted earlier. So now we're taking it and we're going to put a negative in front. Okay, so the negative in front, what that does, if we remember back from when we did these transformations before, earlier in the class when we talked about x squared or absolute value of x, those kind of graphs, we said that a negative in front, what that does is it takes the graph and it flips it over the horizontal axis. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to flip it over, and so it's now going to go down like this. Now when it went up, it would go through the point 0, 1. Now what it's going to do is it's going to go through this point here, 0, negative 1. So let me label this one. This was 0, 1. And now this is going to be 0, negative 1 when it flips. So from this, now I want to answer this information here. So domain is talking about the x values that this graph is using. Now for all the ones that we have with exponents, your domain is always going to be negative infinity to positive infinity, because there's no restriction on what we can put in here for x. We can put any number in there we want and it's still going to be defined. And we can also see from the graph that it's using all the x values to the left and to the right, so negative infinity to positive infinity. Now the range, okay, we have to look at what y values is the graph using. Range is your y values. Now the graph is going down, which means that the graph is going to be using all the values below the x-axis. So what we say for range, it's going to be from negative infinity up to 0. Now notice here I'm not including the 0, and the reason why is because the graph is actually never going to get to the y value of 0 because it's a horizontal asymptote. It's going to get very, very close to it, but it's never actually going to touch. So we don't want to put a bracket here, we want to use parentheses. The last thing is they want the equation for the horizontal asymptote. And so from this, if we just look at it, we can tell it's going to be the x-axis, and we say that by y equals 0. So this would be your horizontal asymptote, and so this is only a one-step transformation, so the next problems we'll look at will involve a couple more transformations.